Everything that we have done so far is basically taking a look at the joints, and then over here, I don't have a skeleton, right? But I can still move my Freddy, at least partially. That one is breaking the skeleton. But in a single movement, I'm orienting a bunch of joints at the same time. You see that? It's not like I'm taking one single skeleton and let me enable the visibility. Not like I'm taking a single joint and then rotating a position in the right place. In the example that I was doing a second ago with the soccer ball, see, I can sort of animate this one. And of course, I'm trying to do it on the perspective, and that is going to be super weird. But notice how it's doing this sort of movement. Once it reaches a point in which the leg cannot continue going that direction, it's going to do it a twist to try to fix it into place, right? But the idea of these controllers is that you can do stuff to the joints without really touching the joints. So I don't know exactly how many joints I have in here. I have way too many, especially because of this tail that I have on the back that I'm not being using at the moment. But only on the leg I have one for the pelvis, one for the knee, one for the ankle. So there's 5 of them here. And everything can be controlled with just this one, right? So it's this sort of movement. That's what they do out in the industry. They don't really modify every single joint and then take a look at all of the individual positions, all of the joints, adjacent joints can do. It's basically on the controllers. So let me hide the visibility of these things and show you what this one does, right? A full character rigging class could be taught or spent in 1 or 2 semesters. So it's really not the point of this class just to show you, hey, this is how you do a character controller. It's basically just an intro of saying this is a thing that exists out there that you can modify, and it's sort of like programming with your joints. It's something that is really useful, and that's what an animator is expecting whenever they are doing a certain animation film or any animation for your games. They are not expecting a rig in which you're going to be just doing every single individual transformation on every single joint, because that's way too much, right? There are forward kinematics, inverse kinematics, and what I mean with that is I want to control these from the pelvis and I don't want to control it from the legs. Previously, with the soccer example I was kicking, I would expect the rotations to come from the top, right? I would expect doing this rotation and then this rotation and then that rotation and then doing that sort of keyframing over there. On the other hand, this is inverse kinematic. If I want to do some sit-ups, I don't want Freddy or I don't want his feet to be leaving the ground. They are right here on the bottom. At this point, that would be really troublesome because the rotations need to stay in such a way that these don't move ever. Whereas if I'm doing inverse kinematic, like I'm having the rotations being controlled from the feet, I only need to worry about these guys. And there's a lot of math involved on these things. Thankfully for us, Maya is going to be taking care of all of these calculations for me. So if I take a look at the value for this joint, for instance, take a look at the rotations that I have currently because I've already moved this thing. But if I move it down and I select it again, I don't really need to worry about the rotations. It's already in place. Same goes with this one and same goes with pretty much every joint that you can think of in here. What if I want this to be controlled in a different way? Well, in many cases, you will have a character controller animation switch here. Switch that to 10, and now you see the animation is going to be controlled by these features here. So I can rotate them, can move them. I can rotate this one. The leg or the toes on the front are not being controlled by that. Just push it up a little bit. And this one is being controlled. So if I wanted to match the rotations, that will be a lot. I have to rotate this one, which is controlling. The only thing that this one is controlling is going to be this joint. And if I take this one and rotate it, and then I take this one and rotate it, I can sort of have the value that I had before. But now when I move this animation for the top part, I have to do the opposite of the rotations. And that is going to leave us some troubles. It is going to start vibrating on the floor and your feet are going to go through the ground. So that's the power of inverse kinematics. You don't want to be working with direct transformations on the joints if you can avoid that, right? So in my case, yeah, I have the controller here in this part. I just say, well, now you're going to be controlled by the controller, the forward kinematic or the inverse kinematic, right? So series IK10 is forward kinematic. So this is one of those things that is easier to grasp whenever you're doing an exercise. So what I want you to do with this one is sort of like an idle animation. This animation is going to be an exercise. It's sort of like what would you expect whenever you see your character not moving around in the world, right? So you have your walk cycle, you have your run cycle. Whenever you're playing a game, you get to see that the further you push the joystick, the faster the character is going to move. In this case, what I want is my idle animation just be when the character is completely static in the world. It's just chilling in there. And for that, I need you to use this skeleton. Feel free to use the animations on the character controllers. So keyframe the character controllers is exactly the same keyframing that you have done in the past. So for instance, this one is going to be doing a sit-up, right? I'm going to be doing 60 frames of animation. I'm going to go here, I'm going to set up the keyframe in both those cases. So here and here, and then on 30, I will be doing that. So just hit play, and now he's going to be doing that animation, right? That's the only thing that I'm expecting on the exercise, an idle animation. In this one, yeah, I'm doing a really simple one. It's just a couple of things, but make it interesting. This is a time to be creative. People have done different things in the past. There are some kids that wanted to do dabs. They had Freddy dabbing. Doing the floss, that's a thing in there. Do whatever you want to feel free to be creative on this exercise. And at the end of the day, the only thing they're going to have is this Maya file. So once you have that, go to File, Save As, and then you're going to be putting that on the, I'm going to put that on my desktop. This is going to be exercise 14, idle animation. So E14 underscore Padilla L. And that is the only file that you need to submit, right? I have everything I need. I have the textures, I have everything. So another thing that might help you out with this is going to be an animation layer. So animation layers are sort of your regular layers, except that they are a new tab over here. And with that, I can say, let's grab these guys, right? So I'm going to start with 10. I'm going to say channels, Kyo. Actually, I put it at 0, sorry. Well, that's fine, 0. And again, I'm going to take that at 10. That will be blinking too fast. I'm going to do 30. Channels, Kyo. And then I'm going to do 40. I don't know why it's moving, but channels, Kyo. So it's at 0, at 40. It's doing that's why it's moving. My bad. So let me reopen the file. So I'm going to go to scenes, free controllers. So it's not doing the up and down. One second. I'm gonna grab these guys, so these two, and I'm gonna say channels keyable at 0. Then I'm gonna do 40. Channels keyable at 40. Same with 30. But then at 35, what I'm gonna do with these is I will be rotating them like so. Channels keyable. Now the idea here is that he's doing a blinking. But I don't want to be repeating that blinking every single time, right? So what I'm going to do is I have both of these guys, select all of these joints, and I can do infinity. So post infinity cycle. So let's say that now I have 400 frames of animation. I can do this. Oh, but yeah. And I can do this. And see, I didn't have to do any other keyframes. They are on this part. But that is sort of useless in many cases because I don't have them in a single place, right? They are going to be, probably I want to make him look to the sides or something, and that is going to let me, or that is going to be preventing me from doing the animation. So a really cool thing that I can do is, once again, work with animation curves. So open that file one more time. And this time, what I'm going to do is select those two. And then over here in the animation layer, I'm going to say, click this one, is create a new layer with the selected objects. So I have a base animation that is created by default, and this is the animation layer that I'm doing. And this one is going to be or let's just call it blink. So once again, I'm gonna do 40 frames of animation. I'm gonna do channels, keyable on 30, on 40, and at 0. Channels, keyable, and then at 35, I'm gonna have him blink. So this channels, keyable, and you get to see what the keyframes are. Is large. Move my playhead to a different position because it's really in my way. So something like this, and I'm gonna select all of that. I'm gonna say post infinity, and that is gonna be repeating that. See that he's gonna be doing that sort of blinking every couple of seconds. It's too fast in here, but at the same time, I don't have to do the keyframing. It's just a couple of them there. And now what I'm gonna do is I can disable these. So I can say mute layer, and he's not gonna be doing that, right? So probably I wanted to do something with the head, or maybe it's not the one that I wanted. Maybe just take a look at where he's going for, right? So let's do sort of like only on 40. I'm gonna make another layer for that. I'm just gonna select that. It's the parent that I'm selecting. It's not the whole thing. It's just the parent. So I'm gonna select that. Click on this layer, and I'm gonna call it ice, and I will make, let's say it 30 channels, keyable, and then 40 channels, keyable. But in 40, what I'm gonna do is it's gonna be looking at something this way. So channels, keyable. And then what I'm gonna do is hit play. So he's turning around. I only have the 40 frames, so I need to do, let's say, 400. So the animation repeats, and then he stays there. But I want him to blink, so I'm gonna enable the blinking. So it's I disabled both of them. That's what happened. So both of them are enabled. Starts there, looks around, do that. All right, and then I can disable or enable or disable those animations, right? I probably don't want to have the eyes being moved to the side, but I want still him to be doing the transition with the blink. So the idea is that you can combine these animation layers to make your animation transitions easier. And that is going to be it for this class. This is also the video for the exercise. So you get to do an idle, whatever you feel the idle should be, making do whatever you want. If you want him to go to the ground and fall asleep, you can do that. If you want him to dance, you can do that. Anything it's possible with this one. It's just an idle cycle, and I want your cycle to be at the very least 5 seconds. So the 30 frames of animation, so 30 frames per second, that's going to be 150 frames. So you can do the blinking thing for 150, but at the same time, I want him to do something else with the hands. The controllers are going to be in here as well. This one is going to be for my IK on the fist. I can do this fist thing, for instance. This one here is going to let me move the hand up and down if it's in the IK frame. This one here is the rotational. It's just rotating the whole thing, and then this one is moving it. This one is going to point the elbow, so add that. This controller here is going to be for the jaw on the feet. This one here is just going to be for the yaw. This one is going to be for the rotation of the head. And yeah, this one here is for the spine. You can puff. This rotation is just for the top part. This one here is my IK switch for the legs. Let's see, I have an IK switch for the hand, so 0 to 10. And now when you have that at 10, that is going to be forward kinematics. Okay, so feel creative with this one. It's a fun exercise. It's basically just create that skeletal animation, and then we can sort of import this animation in a Unreal Engine file. That's what we're going to be doing. I'm going to be providing some basic animations, but yeah, the exercise itself is going to be create an idle animation. So talk to you in the next one.